Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to start our program. Grab a seat. Make sure you have your coffee and a snack. Take your seats. Wow, I love how the room just went completely silent. Thank you, everyone. All right. We begin by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen, Katsi, Kwikwetlem, Kirkite, Semayamu, and the Tawasin First Nations. As well, we acknowledge the Inuit and Métis Nations people who live and work on these territories. We acknowledge September 30th as Truth and Reconciliation Day and pay our respects to survivors of residential schools and those that never returned home. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Biz and Tech event at the International South Asian Film Festival, presented by RBC Royal Bank, Surrey Board of Trade, and Warner Brothers Discovery Access Canada. This event stands as a testament to endeavors of a community that strongly believes in South Asian stories. As we rejoice in the accomplishments of filmmakers from the past, present, and future, we eagerly anticipate a festival dedicated to showcasing global and regional talent and presenting international stories to Canadian audiences through our screens. I want to elaborate on, This year's theme, Pathbreakers. A pathbreaker is a trailblazer who encompasses various qualities. They serve as pioneers and innovators, yet they also embrace risk-taking and the challenges of pushing boundaries, even when success isn't guaranteed. Special mentions to our board members and advisory board, our stellar jury with all these beautiful new faces recognized globally, our core team, which I have the privilege to be part of, and especially our in-house pathbreakers, Sister Duo, Manu Sandhu and Pansy Sandhu. Yay. I now invite Manu Sandhu to say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. He always tricks me to talk at some point, so this is the time. I do want to say, whenever I go to class or something, I really sit in the front of the house, just so I want to be noticed. I think I need some front seats. I really do. I think the back people need to be just right here so they can listen to my... I'm putting you guys on the spot, like I'm literally saying the back bench is gonna come in the front. The back bench, there's only like 2 or 3. Come on, you guys gotta, there you go, now we have some energy in the room. Thank you guys, thank you. Even here, same thing. Gemma, you guys gotta come in the front. My back benches all have to be in the front. See, this is when Ritesh's like, no, I shouldn't put her on the mic. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here on a Thursday morning. My gratitude to special guests. They are not here at the moment, but I will announce them once they're here. To esteemed panelists that are amongst us this morning, and all of our community leaders that are here. The Royal Bank of Canada for enduring support of diversity in the arts and culture, Warner Brothers Discovery Access Canada for their special contribution to this event, and to the Surrey Board of Trade for being a constant in our journey and as we move into greater heights from Surrey and beyond. So thank you. It is my honor and my pleasure to call her my friend and champion of ISAFF, our very own pathbreaker in the business of trade community. Ladies and gentlemen, one and only Miss Anita Huberman. A big round of applause.
Well, I love that the International South Asian Film Festival is led by women. And what great female leadership and entrepreneurship we have here in the great city of Surrey. And again, I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade. And thank you so much for attending today. You know, we're focused, our whole mandate at the Surrey Board of Trade is one of the top 10 largest chambers of commerce, boards of trades in the country. There's 430 of us. is focused on supporting business, attracting business to Surrey, because Surrey is going to be the largest city in British Columbia. It is projected by 2041, according to the statisticians, that we will have over 1 million people in this city. And so that means we need to focus on building the infrastructure and supporting infrastructure for our industries, and that includes our film industry. And so I'm so pleased to be here today as your MC. Surrey's film presence has been felt all over the world, everyone, because of critically acclaimed films. And really, this weekend's International South Asian Film Festival will showcase the amazing talent, the amazing network of film producers and ancillary industries that you will be so impressed with. So I wanted to ensure that you know that you have the support also of the BC government. We work very closely with them on economic development initiatives, regionally, provincially, nationally, and also internationally too. And your minister was not able to be here with us today, this morning, but we do have a video from Minister Lana Popham. If you can turn your attention to the screen.
Hi, my name is Lana Popham, the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport for British Columbia. I'm joining you from the territory of the Lekwungen peoples, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. Welcome to the International South Asian Film Festival Annual Filmmakers Roundtable. Thank you to the organizers who have put together this amazing event. I'm so proud of Surrey's success in attracting productions that reflect our diverse cultural perspectives. BC has been a popular destination for filmmakers for many years. Today, BC is one of the largest motion picture hubs in North America. I know this is an incredibly challenging time for everyone working in BC's motion picture industry. Our industry is feeling the impact from the US labor impasse. Fortunately, we still have a growing domestic industry here in BC. We're proud of the activity, the incredible facilities, and the fantastic talent here in our beautiful province. We all know that the film industry is an important economic engine right here in BC. In fact, the industry contributed $2.4 billion in total GDP in 2021, with up to 88,000 people working in the industry. There were more than 500 productions last year in our province, and we know those productions support local businesses. From equipment rentals to catering, accommodations, all of that for the production itself, their staff and crews. That's good for the local business owners, workers, and everyone living in Surrey and in British Columbia. We can't wait to see everybody return to work. That's why the province invests in the industry through our tax credits and Creative BC grant programs. And that's why we're proud to support this festival. Together with our industry partners, we can continue to build on BC's world-class reputation. Have a productive forum and best wishes for this next coming year.
So I'd like to welcome our panelists to the stage. Mr. James Monk, film manager for the City of Surrey. Please join me on stage. Jonathan Doe, Vice President, Commercial Financial Services for RBC. Nicole Mendes, Vice President, Scripted Development, Lark Productions. Judith Maclnnes, Development Analyst for the Canadian Media Fund. And Richard Raghoo, co-founder, producer of Dada, Ibis Media Incorporated. So you are going to be absolutely amazed, but also educated on the perspective of not only all things Surrey, but also for the industry, the challenges, the opportunities, And then please be prepared for dialogue with our panelists after they have a moment to say a few words. You want to make sure that you are prepared to ask any questions. What is the perspective to move the dial forward for our film industry? What other industries do we need to partner with to really ensure that not only Surrey is a film destination for all cultures, but to ensure that British Columbia is as well? So panelists, you can use the microphones that are with you just to turn them on. You just need to press the button. They're all on? Okay, excellent. All right, so James, we will begin with you, please, for your remarks.
Test. Thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction. So I'm James Monk, the filming manager with the City of Surrey. And I started this role in 2016, and I've got a few slides here to showcase some of the filming that we've had recently in the City of Surrey. You have the, okay, sure, if you don't mind. I will say that we have grown by 600% in the City of Surrey since 2016. So we have seen a huge surge in the productions that have filmed in the City of Surrey. And we work with all sizes. So we work with small productions to the very large feature films. And we also been working with, sorry, one second here, with the commercial film industry. TV series represents a big portion of the filming that happens in the City of Surrey here. But here's some numbers for you. We issue annually about 210 film permits per year. We've worked with 644 productions since 2017. We get, on average, 372 film days per year since 2017. So you're probably wondering, well, how is that more than there's only 365 days per year in the film in the year, so how is that possible? Well, that's because we sometimes will have productions film on the same day. 2 productions will film on the same day, so that's how we tally those numbers, so if you're interested. So these are the type of productions. 27% of our business that come through Surrey is 27% is commercials, 55% is TV series, feature films represent 11%, student films 5%, and TV movies about 2%. So oftentimes people think that all the filming that occurs in Surrey happens in North Surrey. Well, that's not the truth. Most of our filming actually takes place in South Surrey, which represents approximately 45% of the filming. North Surrey, you can see, is 23%, Cloverdale 16%, and sorry, the number Guildford is 5%, and Newton is 10%, and Fleetwood is the bottom there at 1%. And that's for a variety of reasons, and that primarily is because the transportation is a consideration oftentimes, because Fleetwood is in the middle of Surrey. So oftentimes South Surrey is used or North Surrey is used because of the how close the proximity to the highway is. So Highway 1, Highway 99. Some of the feature productions, you'll probably recognize a lot of these names on this list here. We have Riverdale, we've been working with Pinky, Yellow Jackets, Nancy Drew, The Stand, Alaska Daily, Fire Country, Big Sky, Batwoman, Peacemaker, Pachenko, The Good Doctor, Sonic the Hedgehog. So some of these productions we've been working with for multiple years, and they've established some locations throughout Surrey as a recurring basis. So for example, The Good Doctor, if you're a fan of that show, you probably recognize that Surrey City Hall is probably featured in every episode of theirs because one of their hospital wings is Surrey City Hall, based in San Jose. Sonic the Hedgehog was another one where they filmed throughout the municipality, number 1 and the second one. They had built some back lots in Surrey where they were here for a number of months, starring Jim Carrey. And then so Fire Country is another one that we've been working with extensively, which is a big one on ABC. and they have, I believe it's ABC, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have been, it's one of the #1 shows right now on the network, and it sounds like they're going to be coming back as well. So here's the economic impact, 4.8 billion. I think that number was already mentioned in 2021 by the film industry. There are over 5,000 residents living in the city of Surrey that equate. Their salaries equated to $105 million. So just over 5,000 residents, 5,600 residents equated, their salaries equated to $105 million. Here's just some statistics for you. Metro Vancouver is the 3rd largest motion picture hub. There's 61,000 workers here in BC, 2.8 million square feet of stage space in the province. Annually is there's 120 sound stages right now here in the province. So that is, sorry, it keeps going black here. So those are the big considerations when productions are filming here in the provinces. They're looking for stage space. Oftentimes in Surrey, we have the studio that's on near Nordell and 88th Avenue, where it used to be formerly known as the Skydance Studio. So we get productions that we utilize that space quite often. And Alta Carbon was the first production to utilize that space, and that was a big one for the city of Surrey because their budget for season 1 was $120 million, and they had done an extensive amount of filming throughout Surrey during those few months, and they came back for season 2 as well. In fact, they built a street on the Civic Plaza through the atrium of Surrey City Hall, and they lived and had a presence here for 5 weeks during that time. And so that was Alta Carbon. And so the city of Surrey, I just want to touch on, before I go over to the next slide, the difference, how we were able to see a surge in the film industry here in the city of Surrey was through our relationship building and really working with the various departments in the city of Surrey to streamline our process. Because so often we hear where productions will get a script and then needing to quickly turn things around, and we have really positioned ourselves so that we have a very quick process. In fact, we just had a production on Monday this week call us because they had a situation where a location fell through, and the first city that they thought of was the city of Surrey, because we can quickly turn things around. So in 48 hours, we're able to find a parking lot for them, get their special effects approved, and they were able to blow up the car that they wanted to blow up. And they thought of us because of how quick we can turn around the process. So when I first started this job in 2016, I had went out and communicated and met with every production that was filming at the time, introduced myself, understood the challenges that they had, and went back internally. And it took me a couple years to really iron out the process with every stakeholder in the city of Surrey to quickly turn these things around, because it really takes an entire team to make these things happen. Whether there's a hydrant permit, electrical permit, a parking permit, closing down a road, getting the RCMP, all of those departments are involved in the film industry. So when I say that we're 600% busier, it's so are the other departments are 600% busier as well. So it's not just ourselves at the film office. So we pride ourselves in that, and the film industry has come to know that. And the only thing I would like here at the City of Surrey is we could do better is have a mountain or a lake, be able to provide some more geographical features here in Surrey. But Surrey, we've got a significant amount of infrastructure where we've been building new ice arenas, new swimming pools, and so that has been a huge draw for the film industry. So our North Surrey Sport and Ice Complex, the multi-million-dollar facility that we had just built in 2019 has been featured. I've lost count how many times that facility has been used, just because it's a new iconic facility here in Surrey. The Grandview Heights Aquatic Center has been used multiple times. Surrey City Hall gets used a tremendous amount. The City Centre Library gets used. Our fire halls get used, because we promote our facilities. So that sometimes is the difference between us and other municipalities is simply because we go out and meet with the productions that are here in town to promote our facilities and our parks, our land. So here's the application process. So something that we really pride ourselves in is that we work with the productions from the very beginning to the very end. Okay, so I'll explain that to you here. So we get contacted by scouts. They'll say, we're looking for a park. The park has to have dead grass, and it has to have rolling hills and with power lines above. So we'll go out and we'll put together a locations package, very similar to how Creative BC operates, and we'll send that package to the scouts. They are then able to present those options to the director, and hopefully it ends into it results in a director scout, which means that the director and the creative team are now coming out and seeing the property in person. And we'll be on site. We'll have our staff there on site. Then we get the confirmation of filming. Then we go ahead with the tech survey. The tech survey, if you've never been a part of one, is when you get a Greyhound bus with 40 people and all the department heads are coming out to visit the location, and they have 100 questions. Can we paint this? Can we drill into this wall? Can we remove this computer? Can we land a helicopter here? All those questions come up at that point. And then we go back into the city and we will collect all the permits. Whereas some film offices, how it works is the location manager will have to go to this part of the city to get this permit. Then they have to drive half an hour to this part of the city to get this permit. Whereas how we operate in the film office is we collect all your requests. Our staff will go behind the scenes and go knocking on each door on your behalf to get the necessary permits for you. So I like to say that when we give the final film permit, it's got a nice red bow around it. And really, the work that they've done, they're able to focus on the actual production versus having to do all the paperwork with the municipality. Then you can see we liaise with all the internal departments. A lot of communication and sometimes communication strategies are needed depending on the impact of the area. So if we're closing down a road, we'll often do digital board signs. Maybe we've done newspaper ads in the past, things like that. So we come up with a communication plan for every production. It really depends on the scope of work, but that's part of our job. We understand the scope of work, and then we do a whole communication plan around that. And then we issue the film permit. One thing that's not in here that it really makes us a little bit different than other municipalities is our liaison services. So it was a number of years ago where we decided that we'll take that service and we'll do it in-house versus outsourcing, whereas a lot of municipalities will hire a third-party company. So for example, we just had filming at our Surrey Operations Center last week. And a lot of productions will outsource to a third-party company to sort of be the liaison for the building and to the production. So if any questions come up, they're representing the building essentially. Well, we do that in-house. We'll have staff from beginning to end, from the time they're doing the prep to the shoot to the wrap. So the faces that they see from the beginning right until literally to the wrap day are the same faces they've been working with the whole time. And it also provides a high level of service because so often people pivot. A director would like to shoot that way, and then last minute, 10 o'clock at night, they decide they want to shoot that way. And that is just a whole nother can of worms because now there's computers that way, now they need all those computers removed, but they don't like the gray wall, they want it to be a red wall. Now they're having to paint it. Answering those difficult questions at 10 o'clock at night, those things do come up more often than not. It's the creative industry, so it's very fluid. So that's a service that we pride in. That's why a lot of productions are drawn to the city of Surrey. For that very reason, is for the service that we're able to provide, as well as the quick turnaround on these things that these productions are so often seeking and needing. This is our contact information here. I also have my business cards if anyone has any questions, and I'm sure some of you probably from the audience have questions for me about the film office here in the city of Surrey.
Thank you so much, James. So as you can see, we have a very streamlined process right here in Surrey. That is our economic advantage. And so you want to spread the word around that. And James is your guy to really ensure you're well connected within the city of Surrey. You have your support services. But I just want to change it up just a little bit because when James is speaking about what the city of Surrey does to really ensure that streamlined process for productions in our city, I think it's important to hear from producers right after that presentation. What's their perspective? What is needed? And so I'm going to actually ask Richard Raghoo, co-founder, producer of Dada, Ibis Media, to speak next. And then we'll go to Jonathan, then Nicole, and then Judith. So Richard, over to you, my friend.
Good morning, everyone. It is one night. So I've been in film for probably 18 to 20 years. I've started, from the bottom, moved up, and I've been fortunate enough to work with a number of different studios, from smaller studios to larger studios, small shows, lower budget shows. Some of the challenges that we have seen, you look at the major challenges is the funding aspect of it for the productions. You have creators coming out here, new creators coming out, and the challenge is, how do we get funded? How do we get funded for a short? How do we get funded for a feature? And a lot of people say that, it's probably easy to fund a short, but, a lot of the creators are going to tell you that's not true. A lot of the times it's, direct and private investing that has to happen. That's one part of it. For the independent features that are done by local producers here, that's a challenge as well. You have tax credits, yes, for a Canadian content show, you can probably get about 30% of your funding from that. But where does the rest come from? How do we tap into CMF, telefilm? How do we get in contact with the broadcasters and distributors? What is the avenue and what is the contact that's going to happen there? What can we do to make it easier for the creators to get there, right? James spoke a lot about the production and that aspect of it. Once the infrastructure is there, that's great, and the shows will come once you put that information out there. Another part of it that I've seen personally is the challenge in getting crew, the challenge in getting experienced crew. Now, if you look at Vancouver Film School, there's a lot of talent that's coming out of Vancouver Film School. They have 8 campuses, all located in downtown, and they are boasting 150,000 square feet of space. We can look at that as well in Surrey to attract that here, because you're talking about educating the younger population, those coming out of school in film. It's a viable industry, right? I've been on the finance side, on the accounting side, and I can tell you it's a challenge to get accountants, right? So, a lot of the producers here would probably tell you the same thing. But it's important for us to invest in that as well. Invest in the future for the young people that are coming up and let them know the opportunities are there. It's not only in finance. There are a lot of artistic people coming up. The art department, you're talking props, you're talking costumes. The talent exists. And with, Surrey, probably, I think, the stats that I saw, 45% of the population are immigrants. There's a lot of work that can be had in terms of exposing the population to an industry instead of it being the normal, an accounting firm or you go into mining or these kinds of things, right? So you look at that aspect of it, you take that, you treat the population, you teach the population, you educate the population, and that information will transfer over. Once more of the work comes, you're able now to support the auxiliary industries, the auxiliary companies. You're talking about, we have representatives from the hotel industry here, right? The art department, prop houses, all those kinds of things, even as simple as dry cleaning, right? These shows have huge costume departments, right? There's a lot of that work that happens, and that can come here to Surrey. That can be additional business and an additional attraction for the city of Surrey. That's it.
Hello? Okay, great. Wow, that was a really tough act to follow. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the International South Asian Film Festival and the Surrey Board of Trade for having us here today. RBC has had a long-standing relationship with the entertainment industry locally. For over 25 years, we've been helping producers, filmmakers put their work on screen and tell these amazing and diverse stories. Interesting fact, our subsidiary in Hollywood, City National Bank, is considered the Bank of the Stars, and I hope I never get this call from anyone in the room, but we were made famous by putting a loan together for Frank Sinatra when his son was kidnapped. So it was that moment, I think, that really solidified our subsidiary in LA as a trusted bank for Hollywood, and that obviously has extended right into Canada. I have only actually been part of the film industry as a banker for only 6 months. I have the pleasure of working with a very amazing team of entertainment bankers. Some of you may know Leanne Harry, who has been in the industry for a very long time, worked with a lot of producers in the city, along with Irina Race and Hannah Hong. What I would say from my observation of the industry is I echo all the sentiments we've made. It's incredibly important to BC. It creates a ton of economic value. And it just is one of those industries that really allows Canadian values of diversity and creativity to really come to life and take a global stage. Where my team helps support filmmakers is obviously on the tax credit financing that I believe Richard knows very well. Also on the leasing for equipment and IT. We also expand out and we support the post-production industry quite a bit too. So visual effects is a big part of our business. In addition, we've also expanded into other creative medias like gaming, mobile gaming, etc. So looking forward to the conversation today. Some of the things that I have seen, and James, is really interesting to hear your feedback. I recently have been out to a number of different entrepreneurs and startups that are really looking at not only blending the physical world of filming and production, but also merging in the digital world. So we've seen some incredible enhancements with AI. I know that's been a big point of contention with the SAG-AFTRA strike and the impact of technology and what that does in the future. We've also seen examples of, again, where the digital world and the physical world blend together with technology like Disney's using with Stagecraft, where you see an entire room full of, 8K screens, 240 hertz panels that are able to mimic entire production sets. But the interesting thing about that is, although there's a digital element to a lot of these stages and these shows, there's certainly a physical element that's still embedded in as well. So you see this really interesting blend and merge. I've been to a number of visual effects studios that are, taking facial image scans of people and then putting them into, a physical set that's been completely digitally created, but then using also all of the information that they've taken from a physical set as well. So I think there's a lot. We're at a precipice where technology is really accelerating and changing how filmmaking is done. And again, like I said, I think that's a huge reason why we're seeing some of the issues we've seen with these strikes. But I'm incredibly optimistic about that technology blending in with the creative talent we have here in BC, blending in with the amazing nature and the amazing environments that we have here in this city of Surrey as well, to be able to accelerate filmmaking and really change it for the future. So I'm glad that we're almost at the end of the writer's strike and the actors as well, because I do think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity going forward. But what I would say is technology is going to make a really big impact to how films are made in the future, and hopefully for the better.
everyone, if I can ask you to turn your attention to the screen for a short video by RBC.
Every film starts with an idea, but it stops there. Unless it finds people that believe in it.
That's why films have so many credits. Those aren't just names on a screen. They're people who believed in an idea.
Ideas thrive when they find support. That's why RBC proudly supports emerging filmmakers and their ideas.
Assuming it's on because everybody else's mic was on. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm a VP of scripted development at Lark Productions, and as well, I'm producing a show here in Surrey called Elysium that we're doing for the CBC. It's really weird to hear yourself being talked about in the third person because I feel like a lot of the stories James was telling were about our production. So we're currently here filming, and I think we're in a bit of a unique situation in that we're filming Surrey for Surrey. So that's really exciting. The show takes place in Surrey. It's set in Surrey. You won't see any American post boxes or American flags. It's all going to be there. You know, I can kind of speak to it from a creative standpoint of how we ended up here. The story really took us here in terms of really organically. Like, it's just, a writer came to us with an idea, and you know, she wanted to set it in Surrey, and she wanted a BC-based company for obvious reasons. And you know, Lark, we're a domestic production company. We specialize in TV. We've been around since 2010. We used to do Motive. Currently, right now, we're doing Farming for Love, which also shot, I think one of the farms was in Surrey last season. So it really felt like a nice organic match. We are, right now, our broadcaster is CBC. And again, I don't think that we've seen Surrey on the CBC, at least that I can recall, and I feel confident in saying that. I used to work at CBC for about 11 years, so I feel pretty confident saying that. And yeah, it's really special to be able to be here and to, you know, tell the story of a community and really just have it organically evolve. And the city of Surrey has been really amazing. So right now, actually, halfway through James's sort of timeline, we're doing a tech survey. So after this, I'm actually running off to go chase the bus to go see where we're going, so we know what we're shooting. But you know, we've got some really big locations. The first block, we were in the Surrey Ops Center, which we will be going back to quite frequently. This block will be at the Surrey Library. We'll be at the Civic Hotel. So we'll be in that block, and it's really exciting to be able to showcase the city of Surrey. And it really does take a village. We have hundreds of people that are working on the show, that are pulling it together. And you know, I'm from Toronto, don't hold it against me. But it's nice to have a film board that is so open and that is so willing to facilitate everything that we're doing, because it's not always the case. And you know, it's nice when you don't have roadblocks and you have people who are so willing and eager to help. And you know, I think, again, I feel like I'm being repetitive here, but it is a unique opportunity to showcase the city for itself. And yeah, I just sort of feel like a dreamer who likes to tell stories amongst a bunch of business people. But again, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to kind of open up the conversation, and I will leave it at that.
Oh, thank you. It's such a privilege and an honor to be here today to kick off the film festival. I just want to congratulate everyone who is part of the team that put the festival on. The programmers are here. There's jury members here as well. People who write the grants for the festival, and it's so great to be back in Surrey. I grew up in Surrey, went to high school here and elementary school, and it's just a wonderful festival, and I encourage you to get out and watch the films over the weekend. So I work at Telefilm Canada, and it's a Crown corporation. I specifically work on Canada Media Fund applications and funds. Telefilm does the business affairs for the Canada Media Fund. So I help you with your applications, with contracting, with payments. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about, as filmmakers, where you can go for money. But before we get into money, I just wanted to acknowledge that this is all about story and expression. And I just thank the filmmakers for doing this work. It's so hard to be a filmmaker and make a film and make a project. But it really, this is what unites communities and unites humanity. So, but let's talk about some money. So there's opportunities at the Canada Media Fund. It's the biggest funder of the audiovisual sector. So this year, there's $365 million available for Canadian businesses. And let's see here, I'm going to, and you can find out all the information on the Canada Media Fund website. You can take a screenshot of this. This is the address. And this is where you land when you come to the website. There's a little hamburger menu I talk about at the right-hand side. It's 4 lines. That's going to get you into all of our programs, all the deadlines. And I'll go to the next slide here. I think, is this the one? Okay, so is that the next one? Yeah, okay. So the funds are divided into convergent or linear stream and also the experimental stream. So experimental stream, if you are a maker of interactive content, games, apps, that's the funds that you'd go for. But I'm going to talk today about the convergent stream for linear programming. Linear would be anything that's programmed on television. So, but it also could be streamed. And the Canada Media Fund is very specific. These are the eligible genres that the CMF supports. It's drama, which includes scripted. So that includes comedy, documentary, children's and youth, variety, and performing arts. And so when you go into the hamburger menu, these are all the different funds. There's so many different funds available. So at different stages as well. So from early development, pre-development, development, and production. There's a diverse language production fund, international incentives. So when we talk about these funds, most of them are triggered by broadcaster, either a fee or a letter of interest. And we're talking about Canadian eligible CRTC licensed broadcasters. So it was great what you were saying about how do filmmakers meet broadcasters? How do we build capacity? How do we get access to these funds? So this is a starting place. You go to the website, but we'll talk about more of these options. CMF doesn't, you can take a screenshot of this one. CMF doesn't fund like how-to series like cooking shows or home reno shows. They don't do talk shows, magazine shows, religious programming, music videos. So it's very specific. It shows like Lark is a client of the Canada Media Fund. So Motive was funded by the Canada Media Fund. This is 10 out of 10 content, which means this is all Canadian writers and directors and lead performers, editors. So you have to meet that criteria. So it's different. There's different streams we're talking about in the room here. We're talking about service production and then domestic production. So this is domestic by Canadians. So the underlying rights, the IP has to be owned by Canadians, developed by Canadians, and shot and set in Canada. So this production that you're talking about, set in Surrey, that would be one of the requirements. If there was a Canadian writer on board for that, they're 10 out of 10. So that's exactly what the CMF is looking for. You must be incorporated to apply to the Canada Media Fund. So a Canadian corporation incorporated in Canada, controlled by Canadians. Okay, what else? It has to have a head office in Canada. Has to be in good standing with the unions. And it, we'll go on here. Okay, so there's lots of different funding opportunities. And I don't know how in depth we want to go. Like I wrote like a 12-page presentation, but I think we should open it up for questions. I won't get into that. But I can talk in more detail with questions, but there are some programs that I just wanted to highlight. There are, for pre-development, for example, you don't necessarily have to have development money from a broadcaster, but a letter of interest. So the barrier to get in is lowered. There's carve-outs for regional producers, so producers in Surrey, for example. There's carve-outs for regional producers, and also carve-outs for producers from diverse communities. And that would be $35,000 that you could access for that. So I think I'm going to leave it at that, but I have lots of information, and I would love to talk about these programs all day. You apply through telefilm, through dialogue. There's also a persona ID that you have to fill out, talking about who you are. Lots of information on the website about, list of required documents, how to apply. The great thing about CMF, there's lots of guides and how-tos. And this is a good one here. If you want to take a snapshot of that, kind of orients you. You go to the telefilm website for a dialogue account, go to the CMF website to find out about programs and deadlines. Sign up for the newsletter to find out about the latest financing. And there's a list of deadlines. So I'll just leave it at that, I think.
All right. So everyone, this is your time to dialogue with the panelists. And I'm going to ask you to stand if you have a question or a comment or an idea. State your name, your company name, and who your question or comment is directed to. So let's begin this dialogue. We have a good amount of time, and it's all about idea generation here at the International South Asian Film Festival. So who wants to start first? Go ahead.
Yeah, we are working with productions of all sizes. So we've been, we've been focusing on that for many, many years. When we opened up our doors, when we grew by 600%, that's a big part of that percentage. So we will meet with productions. We have a meeting next week, actually, that wants to film in a City Hall or Civic Plaza in a couple of weeks, but we're meeting with them next week, and that production size is only 10 people. And so we're meeting with them because they want to understand our application process, because they also want to do other projects throughout Surrey as well. So we like to have them come in, we have a sit-down meeting, maybe it's a Teams meeting or an in-person meeting, and we'll go over those processes, because we understand that those bigger productions, those crew, especially the locations team, have been doing it for many, many years, so they understand how each region works. But the new productions or the smaller productions may not necessarily know about the ins and outs and what hurdles they need to jump over to get what they need to get. So we will do that, and it doesn't matter if it's a big or a small production. We provide the same service regardless of the size. And in fact, we will look at our fees and charges that we would pay for, let's say, a large production, and we'll look at reducing those costs significantly so that it's not a cost prohibitive production, so that we will work within the budget. Yeah, that may have been the case, but and that was sort of the things when I first started this portfolio, was that we quickly shifted things around, because I could see right away that we weren't being inclusive of the productions that didn't have those, like you said, $100 million budgets. So we're able to, when we have these meetings, these initial meetings, we try to understand the scope of work. So let's just take the Civic Plaza as an example. Alta Carbon, that was there for 5 weeks. They're filming late at night. Their impact was huge. They took every square inch. And so what we charged them was a high number. But the production that we're meeting with next week is 10 people. We're going to charge 1%. I don't know what we would have charged Alta Carbon, but we're understanding the impact that they're going to have. So it's 10 people. The community is still going to be able to use the Civic Plaza while this production is still filming in one corner. We may charge just a small nominal fee that will work with them. And honestly, if the production comes back and, like James, that quote that you gave us is still a little too much, we'll go back and have a chat internally to see where we can trim some costs so that we can. And honestly, I would say that in all cases, since I've been doing this, we've been able to find a compromise where we're able to work within the production's budget.
I really appreciate you for doing this.
Thank you. Next. Don't be shy. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, so there's a couple of ways you can pitch, but right now, we've made a connection. I've met you. I unfortunately don't think I'm going to be here for one-on-ones, but you can sign up if anybody is interested in signing up. Manu can share my information. You can just email me and say, hey, we met at the ISAFF panel. I have an idea, and then we can go from there. Like, I'm a pretty accessible person in terms of being able to pitch. I mean, we come on board pitches at several different stages. Like, you can have a one-pager up to a pilot script. I should specify, Lark only does TV. We don't do film. I love anybody who can make a film in this country, because it's really, really hard. But we only do television. And so, and we work with creators at all different levels. And, when we're looking at projects, we're kind of looking at it from a couple of different angles. Is it something that we feel like we can produce? We've had people come to us who are like, I want to produce a show that's set in The Hague. It's like, well, why would you need a Canadian to do that? So obviously we wouldn't do that. Does it speak to us creatively? And do we see multiple homes for it? And we focus on Canadian content and sort of selling it internationally. But for us, it's really important to be able to produce a show that is either a 10 out of 10 or even a 6 out of 10 Canadian production, so that we can, because that's just how we know how to make shows and make TV, so that we can capitalize on all the tax credits and just make sure that the financing makes sense. But at this stage, it would really be the creative and doesn't make sense for us. But I look forward to getting your email.
Thank you.
I think that's, I don't know. It's definitely been an issue for many years, and we do have different programs that address that. So we do have regional carve-outs in development and pre-development. And we have the English Regional Production Bonus for productions in British Columbia and Atlantic Canada that may or may not be funded by the CMF. So you can come in with a small license without CMF, with tax credits, and apply for an English Regional Production Bonus because you live in BC. There's some money that's there. So there are different opportunities, but I can say that this is a bigger issue than that. It's about building capacity. It's about broadcasters wanting to partner with BC creatives and building those relationships. I think maybe you could talk about that as well. Like how do producers build partnerships with broadcasters in Vancouver, in Surrey, when kind of the center is in the English market in Toronto? You know, I think it's a real challenge, and I think CMF also is trying to unlock sector and slate development that's not triggered by broadcasters, but it's for established producers. So what about emerging producers? And we're always trying to, you know, lower the barriers. But it's really tough out there, you know. But it's our domestic industry is so important. Like, look what's happened with the strikes. We have to be able to work in our independent domestic industry as well as our service industry. It's really integrated. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well, I will say is what you just mentioned is what I'm hearing.
And CMF is triggered by broadcasters. So.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that we can't take that box for the broadcaster in order to access that funding. Is that
I think it's like really layered, and I think one thing that CMF does really well is they do listen to producers. They're always asking, where are you at? What needs to be done? What's the state of the industry? How can we develop Canadian talent, regional talent? They want to hear from you. They come to town. They come to all the major cities. We have offices in Vancouver, like in Telefilm has offices in Vancouver, Halifax, Montreal, and Toronto. They want to hear from producers, but it is, and we need more BC stories, and we need more domestic BC stories. Absolutely, and that's why CMF is supporting 10 out of 10. Like, it's supporting Canadian writers and directors and teams. So it's definitely something that, like, the DOC organization is fighting for, the Canadian Media Producers Association is fighting for. We need to do it at all different levels. And because our stories in BC are important, we want stories from Surrey and all over the regions, all over Canada. So, thank you.
Others, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like doing those co-productions. It's really it's a great way to get in here. I mean, it's always tricky. And again, I can speak to this a bit internationally, just from my time at CBC. You know, the trickiest part is always finding something that works for both markets. So, you know, I worked on a show that was South African-Canadian co-production. And it did amazingly well for Canada. And when I went to South Africa, I was talking to a couple of people there, and they're just like, oh yeah, like that show, it was The Book of Negroes, based on Lawrence Hill's novel. And they were like, oh, we kind of remember that. It didn't really mean anything to us. We didn't really register for them. And so since then, they've sort of been like, it's been hard because I know that their CMF has like a lot of programs that, you know, are trying to encourage these co-productions. but yeah, it's tricky to kind of figure out the creative, and so it can be a couple of things. Like either it's like, okay, I've got, you know, my U.S. Broadcaster, you know, we kind of need to close the financing. Can we do something in Canada? For a Canadian producer, it's going to be, okay, can I bring a Canadian broadcaster on board, like, and to make it work? So I think, like, from a creative standpoint, that's always the hardest part, is just to make it work for both networks, but or both markets. But you know, it can be done, and it has been done. I think there's always just that. It's so hard to get a yes in this industry, so it's hard to get 2 yeses. And then I don't know if I'm going to see that.
Yeah, there are international incentive programs, say in development and in production. So there's stuff with Northern Ireland, South Africa, Italy, Germany, Luxembourg. I think also I wanted to say too is that the conversation keeps evolving, that technology keeps evolving, and CMF is talking about what is Canadian content right now. That's evolving. This is a current conversation. What is Canadian? And I think your question speaks so clearly to that, is that there are partnerships with LA, and there's partnerships all around the world, and how do we define what is a Canadian TV program or a feature film? And if all of the crew is Canadian, what does that mean? You know, a lot of the service productions are made, you know, by Canadians, but not maybe necessarily the director or writer. So where does that sit? So I think the conversation is ongoing, and it's evolving, and the CRTC is in consultation about Bill C-11, and that conversation about what is Canadian and how are the streamers in Canada going to participate, like Netflix Canada, Amazon. Right now, they can't trigger CMF funding, which is probably something that you're interested in. Like, who can I play with to trigger all this money? So I don't know, it's a really complicated question that I can't answer, but people are working on it.
I guess a solution would be we should just apply with the people we have on board and see if it does trigger at least a conversation with somebody in your office.
Yeah, I mean, CMF has if you go onto Dialogue, there's a pre-application consultation that you can log in, you can upload kind of your script or your synopsis. This is my team. Where do I fit in? What can I apply for? Is a really good way, or contact the CMF coordinators and say, this is my scenario. Does it work? Where do you think I could apply for development or production financing? And that's and how do I navigate the website? Like, where do I start? And so definitely reach out to me, my colleagues in coordination, and also that pre-app consultation.
I'd like to add to that. As a producer coming up from the US, you know, what you're going to have to look at as well is your strategic partnerships. So you look at your strategic partnerships with our local producers here. The expertise that you're going to get will be the expertise that will help you navigate CMF, navigate the tax credits, maximize, right? You want to get back as much as possible so you can fund your production. So whilst we have these big studios from the US coming up and doing mostly service production, which is driving our industry here, the potential to do it as Canadian content from the US, it's possible as well, right? If you partner with the producers who have the expertise, know how to do it, know how to turn it into Canadian content, you know, hit the 10 out of 10 points. And if you don't hit the 10 out of 10 points, what do you hit? What can you still access, right? So the 10 out of 10 points is not the end all. It'll be great, right? That's just one part of it. The other part of it, obviously, is the business aspect, getting the broadcasters to be interested, getting the distributors to be interested. Once that happens, depending on the content, then you can get a portion of the broadcaster's CMF envelope and get access to those funds as well. Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to add, I served on the National Film Board as a trustee for 6 years, and I know Telefilm has an ongoing seat on the film board. It is an opportunity for collaboration for international producers, writers, etc. I don't know if you wanted to comment on the National Film Board, which is Canada's film production agency under the auspices of the federal government.
Yeah, that's Canada's producers, the National Film Board of Canada, and world-renowned, amazing films for many, many years. There's an opportunity for producers from Surrey to co-produce with the National Film Board or work as a writer or director where they do a full film board production, or even if you're trying to finish your short film, there's filmmakers assistance program at NFB as well, like a $5,000, $10,000 grant, perfect for passion projects that need post-production services after you've shot it. There's a website for the National Film Board of Canada. I don't work for them, but they're an excellent resource. Thank you,
yes.
Anita, for bringing them up, because it's another place for funding that Surrey producers can go to.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, my short answer is we sort of are very early in the process. The bank comes in when we're ready to make the show.
Yeah, I think it would be a collaboration with everyone on the panel, quite frankly. But I do want to highlight something that we have launched recently, and it's called the BIPOC Emerging Artist Program. It's not a grant, it is a financing package for filmmakers that have less than 2 productions. And recently we funded a number of documentaries, several web series and short films in partnership with Telefilm, with production companies like Lark, where we've been able to finance some of the smaller production deals. And to Amin's point too, always the question is, when you're dealing with a big bank, the fees are going to be huge, the interest rates are going to be high. I would say that for the smaller productions, we are really looking at ways that we can fit within that budget, either by reducing our fees or cutting back on the interest rates to make it so that the interest and the fees don't take a sizable chunk of the production budget. And we've also been pushing back on some of our legal counsel to say, you know what, for a small production, we can't be charging $20,000, $30,000 in legal fees. Let's get that down a bit more. So we're really focused on trying to grow the grassroots creative industry by introducing programs like I said, the BIPOC Emerging Artist Program, or just by looking at some of these smaller production loans and seeing how we can shave interest and fees.
I'd like to add to that. With respect to the banks and coming in, it's important to note that the banks are not a funder. It's not part of your finance plan. What the banks are doing are interim financing. What's going to come? What are you expecting? They fund sometimes, I believe, up to 90% of the tax credits that are coming back. They also, on occasion, fund the accounts receivable side of it, let's say from Chorus and that aspect of it, right? So, what Nicole said is correct, that the banks will come in later when, the finance plan is done, everything's ready, take it to the bank and say, okay, we have X amount of tax credits, help us fund that, because as we know, the tax credits, can come in 12 to 18 months after the show is done and completed and delivered. Yeah.
Yes, James? Are there future strategic plans?
Looking at Gemma, actually, I know that a lot of the studios are, looking at building or expanding the studios that are already here, like Martini Studios. Bridge Studios is another one. I know that, so they're building for the future in that regard, because, that's my understanding, is that a lot of the network shows or the studios, the first thing they look at is how much available space is available here in British Columbia. And if there isn't available studio space, then they're not going to be coming here in the first place. So sometimes there has been, in the years past, a queue or a lineup system for a studio or soundstage here locally. So having the infrastructure is the most important thing. In terms of the workers, the skill sets that we have in BC, we posted that number, 62,000 workers. We have some highly skilled, we're internationally recognized as having some of the best skilled workers in the industry right here in our province. So that regard, I think we're really well set up. In terms of studios, I don't work on that aspect of the business. But we are in the presence of Gemma here, who has a lot of knowledge in that regard and about studios and how they're planning for the future. Yeah.
I think, the other piece is we have these, and we talked about this, James, in previous conversations, is some of the Hollywood actors, Bollywood actors, they stay in hotels in Vancouver, and if they're producing here in Surrey, with traffic and everything, it takes them a while. So having that purpose-built rental studio or purpose-built studio space with helicopter access, easy access, I think is really important. But also, it's an opportunity for Surrey to be a destination too, for people not only choosing Vancouver, but to have more hotels also in Surrey that are a destination. So I know Angie and her team at Discover Surrey, Tourism Surrey, are working on that as well in concert with others. But that's an opportunity. That's the infrastructure that we also need. We do need purpose-built studio space. Wouldn't you say, James?
Absolutely. For Surrey in particular,
Yes.
selling Surrey sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge, because if the studio is in, let's say, Burnaby, Vancouver, to have them, they have to have a reason to come across the bridge, and they look at sometimes Highway 1 or the Poor Man Bridge as sometimes being too congested. I hear this time and time again that, if a production, they call it when they leave the studio, they spill out of the studio. Let's say they're looking for a park with a swing. Well, North Vancouver has a lot of parks with swings. They have to have another reason to come to Surrey. And so to have studios located in Surrey would hugely benefit the city as a municipality, because we've seen it time and time again. Like, for example, the studio here on 88th, formerly known as the Skydance Studio, the productions that have shot there, they do a lot of that business and filming in the city of Surrey. And a lot of contractors, caterers. I just got a call from one of the hardware store where one of the productions had spent X amount of dollars on lumber over the past 3 years, and how they love the film industry. So it is all businesses, all sectors benefit when we have more studios here in Surrey. So we could do more.
That's the opportunity. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a question I haven't actually, sometimes we get people asking what shows have filmed in the city of Surrey. So we developed a digital library to showcase for the purpose of film tourism. And so we've put quite a bit of infrastructure in that part, so members of the community can see what has shot. But what is currently shooting or what is coming down the pipeline, oftentimes productions are they're not wanting to maybe necessarily disclose the locations of where they're going to film, depending on the production, because of privacy reasons. So that data we don't put on our website. What is coming to, let's say, Bear Creek Park? We've got James Bond that's going to be filming there next week. We don't put that on our website. We may put it in our digital library after the fact, but you're looking at the network connections that you can make prior to. And we often, like you said, we refer them to the Creative BC website, where they have the catalog of productions that are currently in town. The ones that aren't included, I don't know how you get included on the Creative BC website, because I've never gone through the process. I don't know how productions get their name on the board. Because a big part of our productions that do film here in Surrey, they're non-unionized, right? So they would never be captured on that. That's got to be at least 38% of the productions that film in Surrey that are non-unionized. So those are the ones that you probably want to reach out to, like the commercials, the car commercials and things like that. And they are here for a very short window, sometimes for a week, and they're gone. And to give you an example, I have to get our invoice to them within a few days, or it may take me months to get a check back for them because they've gone back to America already. So I got to quickly turn things around. So they're only here for a very short window of the commercial industry. Maybe if, we could have something where, I'm sure you're advertising yourself already, and it's really about those networks. And I'd be happy to put you in touch with someone because there are some of the key people that are in the non-unionized environment that I see them time and time again. Yeah.
And if it's helpful, I can connect you with the CEO of Creative BC. You can give me your business card after, and I'll do that e-introduction for you. Yes, please. Manu first, yes. Who would like to take that first? Who would like to respond? James?
I can do it speak on the experience that we've had here. We get approached when I think they're already here. The script may not be finalized, so we've had the unique opportunity with some of the Bollywood productions where they're developing the script around the locations, which is sometimes unique. Oftentimes, 90% of the time, we get a script, or we see the script, and they're looking for locations to match the script. Whereas some of the Bollywood movies that we've worked with, they've find a location and they write it into the script. So that's really interesting. We've had that experience a couple of times now. But in terms of how to bring them in, I think the productions that we've certainly worked with have already, I think, been settled here, or at least had the idea that they're coming here. And that's when we've been engaged, is that they knock on our door, that we're here in town, we were going to be filming for the next number of months, and we want to primarily be filming in the city of Surrey. That's when we start to have those dialogues and bring them into the city hall. We have those meetings, and we talk about how we can, achieve their vision.
So I'm going to be bringing a couple of them.
Fantastic. Give us a call.
And also another...
So one of the things I had mentioned earlier was, contact the local producers. My company, one of the things we have looked at, and we had, briefly spoken with Manu, is, we want to look at that Bollywood content. That is here. That is what lives here. And what are the obstacles that those shows come in here and shoot in here? Is it CMF? Is it just not having any knowledge how to navigate the Canadian system, right?
It's also the elusive animal, the India-Canada co-pro, which no one has
Yes.
cracked yet.
Yeah. International co-productions, it's very viable. In some instances, it's a challenge. It's harder to do than a normal, straightforward show. But with the right backing on both sides of the borders, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Yeah.
Thank you. Please.
I feel like I have no good answers for this because it's also elusive to me too. I mean, it depends on your distributor. I mean, Lark is in a bit of a unique position in that we have a relationship with NBC Universal. So it's not an exclusive relationship, but anything we take out internationally, they have a first look deal on. So they, they take a look at it and they decide, yes, we think we can sell it internationally, or no, we can't. I mean, for example, so Family Law, they actually didn't come on board Family Law because they didn't think that they could sell a Canadian legal show internationally. So I think from a distributor's point of view, they're trying to figure out who this might work for, how they can package it. I mean, do we have to remove the word Canadian from any sales packages? Like things like that. But as we get more global, I think I have seen a shift. Barriers are coming down. I think people are more open-minded. I think the age-old adage that specificity is universal. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's not a very good answer. I've not answered the question. But I don't know if anybody else has anything to add on the distribution side. But yeah, I mean, and it really just depends on the content and if they think there's a home. And unfortunately, you'll have to work with them to kind of adjust and shift, whether that's let's put this person on the key art instead of the other person, or let's remove the word Canadian. So for a distributor, it's our distributor comes on board once we have a green light. So once we're greenlit for production, then they come on board to help finish our financing structure. Or they can come on board once you have a finished product. It's very rare that they come on board in development, at least from my experience.
Sir, do you have a comment on the distribution strategy? So I do want you to know that we are recording this session and extrapolating all of the opportunities and taking it back to our advocacy team at the Surrey Board of Trade. And I know that the speakers on stage here are wanting to address the challenges as well. So we're not forgetting. After this event, I want you to know that. But I have taken your point to heart, as I'm sure everyone on stage has, and I'll speak to you afterwards. But any other responses to the whole distribution strategy piece on stage?
I guess I wanted to jump in and talk about some opportunities. Manu had started the conversation on this as well. There is a diverse language fund at the Canada Media Fund, so it's for projects that are not in English and French. In fact, they cannot have any English or French in the project. So it can be 100% Punjabi, for example. And I think, but again, it has to be, you have to be like a Canadian applicant. You have to be incorporated in Canada, which you are. So this is a space where you would have to have a Canadian broadcaster, but only like 5.1% of your budget. You can work with Canadian distributors and foreign distributors in your financing and tax credits for this diverse language fund. It is a juried fund, so it will be juried, but we should talk about that fund after, because it's something to look out for, and there's an opportunity there.
And what you're seeing, actually hits the nail on the head. We can do these shows. We know we have tax credits. We know we can get the bank to finance the tax credits. How do we get the broadcasters and the distributors interested? One of the things that's coming out of Bill C-11 is the mandate that CRTC has to look at BIPOC and underrepresented groups, how to benefit, how to increase funding for these projects by the BIPOC and underrepresented creators, for not only the creative, but the local producers like you guys who are doing these shows. So that still has to come out with respect to what actually has to happen, but the CRTC is working on that to see, everyone's looking to see what's going to be the outcome of that. So we'll see, I guess, probably in a couple months.
And like you've been saying, how do we build capacity in Surrey?
Yeah.
How do we, and I loved your idea about the film school, as well as the studio, or maybe there's a connection there together. It's building the capacity. There's so many talented people. How do we support them in telling their stories and getting the message, not only to Canadian audiences, but to globally?
James.
So I've seen some of those impressive studios where they have the screens and some of the revolving screens and how they move. So I've been to some of the tours, done some of the tours around Lower Mainland, and I've seen how impressive they are. Again, but it goes right back to the studios again. I mean, Surrey would benefit from studio space, period, and then obviously some of those stages where they can have those LED screens, those big screens. It really stems to, the private industry who are looking to develop. And I know Anita and I have met with a couple of people over the years who have looked at the film industry and whether they're interested in pursuing in that, building those stages like a purpose built. And you're right, the ceiling height, the ceiling height is the number one factor. You've got to get to 40 feet is no longer sort of the threshold. You need the 60 feet because to accommodate the productions that are bigger productions. And it's we need more purpose-built studios, and I think if we get those purpose-built studios here, I think those volume stages will come. Those will come naturally, because I know, those studios like Bridge Studios and others are building in that infrastructure right now, and investing heavily for those very reasons, because Brad Pitt could be in Scotland right here on one of those studios. So I've seen it done in real time and how it can be transformed, and it's very realistic. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So any closing comments, just very briefly, panelists? James, we'll begin with you.
I just want to say that we really do have an open door policy here, so give us a call anytime you want to bounce an idea. You're thinking about doing a project here in Surrey. We would love to meet with you. I've got my business cards. Love to chat with you afterwards if you have an idea that you'd like to bounce off me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'd just like to say in closing, thank you very much for this opportunity to connect with everyone here today. I personally learned a lot from this esteemed panel this morning, and looking forward to the film festival. I think it's going to be fantastic to see some of the films on screen, and RBC's looking forward to the continued partnership with both ISAFF and the Surrey Board of Trade.
Nicole, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me, and thank you for Surrey for having us with open arms and facilitating all of the amazing filming we're doing, because it's been really fantastic. And I don't want to say easy, because nothing in life is easy, but easier than shooting in most places.
Thank you. Jude.
I just wanted to say that the doors at CMF and Telefilm are open. We want you to reach out to us by phone, email, on the websites, and I was just so I learned so much as well today, and so excited to hear about the production shooting in Surrey. Really inspired by that, and to hear everyone's comments. So thank you very much for coming and making your films and sharing your stories. I really appreciate it.
And thank you to everyone here. You hear of Langley, you hear of Vancouver. It's great to have a city that's not necessarily new on the scene, but there's a real opportunity for growth. And, we want these panels and these discussions to not only be the end. You want to take it to the next level. So, what's going to happen next? And I think, with James and CMF, and, we can look towards educating the population and driving Surrey and take everything forward. Thank you.
And like I always say, Surrey is an opportunity city, and we are looking so forward to exploring the concepts, the ideas, the challenges that all of you have presented this morning. And of course, we are so excited. Are you excited about the International South Asian Film Festival? So the schedule of activities and the program is at each of your seats. We are so looking forward to the opening tomorrow night, and of course the beginning of viewing the films tomorrow. So again, thank you so much to Manu Sandhu, International South Asian Film Festival, Ritesh, their whole team, and of course, the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC. Thank you so much for your ongoing corporate support, and we will see all of you in the next 3 days. Make it a great business day. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, actually, come to the movie tonight. It starts tonight. Do you guys want to say a word? I want to just,
Yeah, opening film is tonight. Tomorrow's the Purple Carpet Gala, just to clarify. But tonight we're opening with a great film from a first-time writer-director, Lord Curzon Keith Haveli, at the Landmark. So please join us tonight for opening night film.